Okay, so I'm going to set out the opening for my sliding door, and I'm going to use the photos to work out the size it should be, because the photos obviously are showing what's really there. The two floor plans that I've given you are only indicative, and so I'd say this one is the one that's closest, because at least it's got the return or the wall there next to the road. The other floor plan, you can see, shows that door opening almost the full width of that bedroom, which we know can't be right because we can see in the photo that it's got a wall here. So, looking at the width there, we know that's 2.8, and then we're going to have again that return, which will be at least 800, so the opening is no more than 2 metres across, and I'd say more likely it's about 1800. So I'm going to draw it that size to start with, and again, just following the same process, put in the opening first. Can't emphasise that enough. Most of the problems people have drawing doors and windows because they go too far drawing in the framing before they even know the opening size. So you've got to set the opening out first, always. And so here I've drawn my line. I'm going to move that across to the right, this time just 100 mil. I'd say, just looking at the construction there, that there might not even be a return here. So the door here might sit right on the corner of the wall, in reality. But if it does, I can always move it back later. So I'll just have that return for now, and I'll put in an offset now of 1800. Bring that line across. Trim to make the hole. And then I'm going to check in my layers now that I've got a door projection layer. So I made a layer last time for the door, but remember that was for the door frame when it's being cut. So maybe just to make that clearer, I'm going to rename that layer and just add cut to the name, so I know that's for the door or the parts of the door that are being cut. Now I'm going to make another layer called A door, probably guess, PROJ for projection. And I'll make the line weight 0.15. And I will just change the colour slightly, but the colours, like I've been saying, are up to you. So contrary to what you might have heard, there are no rules with colours, but it definitely will help if you use material colours so that you can have a different colour for each object. And I'll make the door cut layer current. Close it. And so again, I'm just drawing indicative door jambs, in other words, rectangles for my door jambs, and I'm simply going to use the line command to draw from the corner across 40 mil. So it's 40 again, not 50, because this is a door. My wall thickness is 290, so I'm just going to come down all the way and then back. And again, I'll just do the same on the other side. So now I'm going to switch to the door projection layer and draw the lines for my sill. Sorry, my threshold. In a window it would be a sill, but in a door it's a threshold. And so we'll definitely have a threshold on the outside, so between the two corners of the door jamb there. So that's the step where you would go from inside to outside. Okay, so that's this line here. You can draw a line on the inside, but it's normally unnecessary if you have a material change that you want to show. So in this case, we can leave it out until maybe you decide if you're going to have a material there. So I've got my my door frame, but I need the door panels. I'm going to go back to the door cut layer, show you a couple of little tricks that'll help you when you do sliding doors. So all we really need there is a rectangle for each panel. They do slide over each other. And so to help me do those rectangles, I'm just going to draw a line from the midpoint of my threshold. Just take it straight down. And then if this is an aluminium door, which I think it would be, aluminium or maybe steel, but they look like aluminium to me. So it's going to be a probably a 50mm frame, and so I want them to overlap that amount. So I'm going to offset half of that. I'm going to offset 25 either side of that centre line. So that way I've got two lines either side that are 50mm apart. Oh, it doesn't matter. These are just construction lines. But for the frame, I did 0.35. 0.35. Okay, so now I'm just going to draw a line then from the midpoint. Yep. Oh, just 25mm either side. Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a line then through the midpoint over to the right, midpoint on the other side. Oh, no, this is just another construction line. So, yeah, I'll do the glazing afterwards. I'll put the glazing in. Okay, so you can see then we're going to have them sliding, so I'll have one fixed and I'll have one sliding back, but I'll do that in a minute. Okay, so then I'm going to make the thickness 40mm, just like the jambs. But then I want a gap between these panels that I might just make 10mm. This is really just a graphical set out. In reality, they'd be touching, but we just want to have them showing with a gap between them. I'm just offsetting 10mm above and below that centre line. And so these are just construction lines. Don't be afraid to put these in. They're just there to help you. And then my door thickness. And so I'm just thinking what's going to look good graphically with this one. So I'm just going to change that distance. And I'll just do it 40, that'll do. Okay, so I'm just going to offset 40 from that new line at the bottom. And that will give me enough to draw a panel. Okay, so I might just offset above so that it's easier to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to offset this line as well, and then it might be a bit clearer. So this is where one panel will go, and this is where the other panel will go. So I'm just going to draw then a rectangle, snapping to the bottom of this construction line, all the way across to the far vertical line, and then the next horizontal line. And so that stands out a bit more, I might just change these other lines to a different layer. There we are, so that makes it stand out a bit more hopefully, and you can see so why I've done those set out lines. Okay, so I can use the set out line here as well to do my frame. So this is the frame for the aluminium essentially, so I'm drawing it yellow, which will be for timber, but you can always change that to a different colour later, doesn't really matter for an existing element anyway. So I've drawn that line, And now I can use mirror with the midpoint of either the top or the bottom of that rectangle. Flip it over the other side. No, to delete source objects. And that'll keep the old one. I can go into my glazing layer and draw a line with a midpoint for the glass. And then what I might do actually is just turn off, oh no, I can't turn the layer off. I'll just delete some of these construction lines, otherwise it's going to get really confusing. So I'm going to delete these two construction lines, because now I want to trim just with enter, and then I can just click on anything, and I'm going to trim these two lines back. And now I can draw some new lines on my door projection layer, and I might even, no, I can leave that actually. So I'll just draw a line now from the corners there to show the part of the door that's below the cut plane. And then I can copy all of that so I've selected it with a window left to right. I'll show that again, so as long as it's blue. Then using the copy tool, you can pick it up on the corner on the bottom left, and then snap it with ortho turned off so that it's easier to see what's happening. I can snap it onto this intersection here. Or I could even go to the one below. It doesn't really matter. Maybe I'll go to the one below. Okay, I just want a little gap between them. Like I said, in reality they'd be almost touching, but it'll just read better if there is a little gap. So now I can clear all these construction lines. So they were just there to help me position my doors. Once I've deleted them, it's much easier to see what's happening. And then finally I can select all the lines in the second door and simply move them across with ortho turned on to the position you want them to show the door in the open position. So something like that. There's no rule about the amount that you need to show sliding doors in the open position. Sometimes it's a good idea to bring them back even further so that you're showing a good amount of the opening. But it's entirely up to you. So later you can add an arrow. You should always have an arrow to show the direction of the door opening. But like I said, you can add them later. So once you've got the door, or the opening at least, then you can copy that across if you've got an opening the same size. If you've got a bigger opening, then you'll need to stretch the door just like I showed you with the windows. Uh, 40 mil. Yeah. So you can just use 40 for all the thicknesses in a door, it should be fine. Okay, so look, we're going to look at doing arrows with the annotated tools, but I might show you very quickly just because it will be a nice thing if you do have the arrow there. So I might just quickly make a layer called a anno, just for annotation. And just leave that on default line weight. So you might do a proper arrow later, but for now you can even just try drawing a line with some other lines at 45 degrees. It's a good thing to practice if you aren't sure. drawing an arrow should be a pretty simple thing. Something like that. If you want to, you can put it in line with the panel that is obviously sliding, which will be this one. There we go. So that'll be enough though for your sliding doors. Shouldn't need any more detail than that.